Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on the line as he does every week on the show, his name is Mike Reyes. He professionally writes about movies. It's a job we all want. He does it for Cinemablend.com. Hello, Mike. How are you this week?
I'm very professional. How are you?
I'm very professional this day. Anyways.
Yes. Yeah.
Mike, we got a lot to get.
Deep in that rabbit hole.
Yeah, I know, right? We got a lot to get to this week as the big movie of the week is obviously the new Spider-Verse movie, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. You have not seen it yet, but by the end of this little interview, you will have seen it. We will have time travel this week.
Yes, more time travel for the folks because there is no way that we're going to get out of this week without talking about that movie. It's too big. And I've been waiting for it for too long.
I forgot about it until you said something, and then that got my mind racing this week. I'm like, oh, can I go see this weekend? Because we were thinking about doing like a double date with some friends to go see Transformers next weekend because they had asked us to. And it's like, oh, can we get away with, not having any kids for 2 weekends in a row? So it's still kind of up in the air if we're going to do it. But I kind of want to take Jace to the new Spider-Man movie.
As we are recording, it is Dinosaur Day, like National Dinosaur Day, and we're going to get to see Spider-Rex on the big screen for the first time tonight.
I'm excited about it. This should be cool. We'll save the rest of the Spider talk till the end of the episode. Moving through it as we do make our way through this, the other movie being released this weekend that no one will probably see because of Spider-Verse is The Boogeyman.
Yeah, which it's based off of a Stephen King novella of the same name. And all I have heard is one of our Stephen King experts on site saw the movie and gave it a 4 out of 5.
Oh, wow.
And I really haven't heard too many reviews about this one, but I'm just interested because I too am an avid Stephen King fan. So it's kind of cool to just see, whenever the unadapted works get done, how well they hold up. But yeah, you've got Scott Beck and Brian Woods wrote it, and I believe that's the team behind A Quiet Place as well.
Okay.
And Rob Savage, the director, is known for Host and Dash Cam. So you've got some really good horror talent here, sort of a good batch of horror talent making a Stephen King movie. I can't think of anything cooler.
Stephen King seems to be, like, the movies that come from his stories are very hit and miss, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, also, like with any author, the source material might be hit or miss, but definitely there's things that can go wrong in the adaptation. I still remember reading the book Cell and liking it. And then I was so excited when they first announced, oh, they're making a movie. By the time the movie was finally made and released, it was kind of dumped. And that was a bummer because you had John Cusack and Samuel L. Jackson reuniting for that. But also by the time it came out and I saw the trailer, it was just kind of like, maybe I'll just stick with the book.
What was it a Simpsons joke where they had Stephen King and he was like, oh, it could be a killer set of curtains or something. And like he just kept coming
Family
up
Guy.
Family.
It's a lamp. Ooh. When can you have it on my desk? Bye.
Every single time I hear Stephen King, I always think of that stupid clip because it does seem like he's written something about everything. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, when you've written for as long as he has, you really have to dig deep for ideas sometimes. And, I used to be friends with this guy. His mom was a huge, she would buy every Stephen King book in hardcover when it came out. She'd been a fan since probably since the beginning. And I remember shortly after when he was hit by a van, like a driver hit him and, he was in bad shape for a while. When he came out of that, for a little while, she was like, he keeps writing some of the same stories now.
Interesting.
And I think he's sort of gotten out of that because Stephen King's branched out into stuff like detective fiction now and a whole bunch of other really cool stuff. He's done a little bit more fantasy, I think, but he just always seems like a cool dude. I like his work, and it's cool to see some of the deeper catalog getting adapted instead of just, hey, let's do it again, but only do half of it good.
Yeah.
I am still mad about the fact that part 1 is fantastic. It's great. They had a brilliant idea to break up the stories and then tell them, in different halves. but you had another Drax that movie was building off of. So then when you went to It Chapter 2,
Yeah.
mistake number one, you didn't have the whole thing written out by the same team to begin with. That's just a mistake right there. Because then you have to write the thing, you have to cast the thing, and
Yeah.
if they were really planning on doing it, they should have had it done like Dune, where Dune was almost instantaneously like, yeah, we're in. Surprise, part 2's coming and we're ready. Like, I think or at least that's what it seemed like. I think they learned their lesson, but I don't know. Just It Chapter 2 is just one of the biggest drop-offs I've ever seen in like a sequel since, I don't know, Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Oh, Wreck-It Ralph. That second one was weird.
Second one was just, hey guys, internet, instead of the first one where it's like, yeah, arcade and what it means to be a hero, and that had a really good hook to it. And then it got popular, and then they had to figure out what to do with the next one, and then internet, gifs, emojis, don't read the comments, and it's just like,
that second one was creepy based on Ralph's like weird obsession with Penelope. Like it almost seemed almost stalkerish. What I remember there was a couple parts of that I'm like, I'm mildly uncomfortable by this.
I don't think I picked up on that. And if I did, I probably swept it under the rug.
I just remember
I was just not.
Yeah. Anyways, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me right now. We don't need to go down the tunnel that is Wreck-It Ralph 2. Over in the world of movie news, like I said, we'll get to the Spider-Verse review here at the end because of time travel. Movie news this week, what are we looking at? I mean, do you want to start with Hidden Strike, the trailer, because it just looks awesome?
Yeah, I actually haven't. A friend of mine sent me this trailer this morning, and I haven't watched it yet. But then I heard that you had watched it. And just your reaction alone makes me even more excited to go and watch this, because I never would have thought to put John Cena and Jackie Chan in a movie together, but today we have that.
It's one of those things, and this is what I wanted to say for air when we were talking about it earlier, was that's a combination that you don't know you need it until you have it, and you're like, holy this is awesome.
Yeah, like especially after Fast X, where the way I describe it is John Cena went from WWE to Kids' Choice Awards host in one movie flat. Just I like his sort of crazy uncle, crazy blockbuster madman energy. I love it.
It's basically Hidden Strike is trailer was released yesterday. We're recording this portion on June 1st, but it looks action, adventure, comedy. Odd couple, Jackie Chan and John Cena, working together or against each other. I wasn't quite sure because I skimmed through it, but everything I saw looked awesome, and I'm like, this is a movie I need. This is a movie I absolutely need.
Oh, I am so excited. It seems awesome.
It looks like a throwback to like 90s action movies. Like, remember when like Eraser came out and stuff like that?
Yeah, like that seems to be something that's slowly coming back, and maybe it's because that generation's growing up and making movies now.
Yeah.
But that sort of like kick back and enjoy sort of energy is coming back.
Oh, so awesome. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line. Oh, Fast X. Vin Diesel is blaming someone else.
I'm sorry. Is this a news story you're telling me, or is this something that we're recalling from the past? Because you may as well call Vin Diesel a butcher, because the man likes to have beef with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And the latest person that is on the other end of that, allegedly, according to two sources reporting to Radar Online, is Vin is embarrassed Jason is branded the only bright spot in the film, Fast X, and stealing his thunder in the franchise he built himself. Jason knows he's the flavor of the moment, and Vin's jealous of him. But he doesn't appreciate Vin trying to poison the public against him. This has the potential to be Hollywood's next biggest feud. I kind of want to just shut it down right there, because of the sheer fact that, look, Mr. Diesel, sir, the Fast franchise has been going for 10 movies now. It is bound to be getting some flack. But also, Momoa is awesome in this movie, and anyone who doesn't see that and doesn't recognize that is just blind. I'm sorry. After 10 movies, you need to have a character like that jumping in, keeping things fresh, and keeping people invested. Otherwise, you're not going to be making money. And this movie's already kind of, I think, struggling a little bit as it is. But the fact remains that, I'm sorry, you don't A leader does not put that down. A leader raises that up because of the old adage, all boats rise with the tide.
Yeah. A lot of this stuff, always comes out from hearsay and whatnot. You get it from, like second or third hand sources. You'll never believe
And
what
that's
Vin
exactly
Diesel.
what's happening here.
But hear me out on something. It's one of those things that it seems like enough of these stories come out that what we're getting may not be the actual 100% true version of it, but something is happening there. You know what I'm saying? It's where there's smoke, there's fire. And enough of these stories have come out about Vin Diesel talking about people in this light that it's like, it's not hard to believe that might actually be the case.
Yeah. And keep in mind, we're at a point right now where Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson have potentially buried their beef because, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen Fast X, Hobbs comes back for the post-credit, one of the mid-credit teasers for the next film. So obviously the water under that bridge seems to be flowing. But again, to your point, there's so many of these stories that it's not hard to believe, oh, great, Vin's angry again at X.
Yeah.
Vin's angry at Y. Like, it's not hard to believe.
At some point, people are going to want to see something else with the movie. They want you to be a part of it, but hey, when Jason Momoa comes around and does awesome in it, hey, guess what? That's the new news story with Fast X or the Fast series.
Yeah, that's what keeps people coming for what may be a trilogy closing out the series.
I mean, we could only talk about how awesome you look shifting gears so much before that news story runs out.
This franchise has come to the point where family is not just a meme; it is now a properly misspelt word in the lexicon. Like, when you get to that point and people know the lines, like a friend of mine were sitting there through Fast X and we counted, I think it was like 16, 17 times they say the word family in Fast X.
Oh boy.
When you get to that point, you need to either do something new or step away gracefully.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, I like the Fast movies. I think they're fun. I think that it's time for them to end. But it definitely has been fun, and I have some of my favorites and, what have you. But, again, when someone like Jason Momoa comes and gives your movie a hook for people to go and watch it and recommend it, don't poo-poo it. Like, again, just raise up your team. It's like, we got a great team here.
Yeah.
Jason was fun to work with. He's a real badass. Like, even Dwayne Johnson understands that.
Yeah. The other funny thing I saw in regards to this, and it kind of ties into it, is there's becoming a bigger and more prevalent, breakdown of how the Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, ruins movie franchises.
Oh, please tell.
It's just like a thing I've been noticing on, and this isn't done by anybody, professional in particular, but, how TikTok works with people, they'll go through and give their own breakdown of, whatever, a news story, a conspiracy theory, movie stuff. But they're starting to make a lot of really interesting points about how Dwayne Johnson goes into a movie series, and the long and short of it is it has to become about him, and that's what ruins the series.
Black Adam, I can't imagine what you're talking about, Shazam.
But it's just kind of this is an interesting world. It's almost a soap opera at this point. Anybody that's been involved with the Fast movies, it seems like it's gone on that long that it's turned into kind of the soap opera type thing.
Yeah. I mean, this is a soap opera, a macho soap opera. Like, this is flat out machismo, family, explosions, betrayal. Yeah, this is a soap opera.
Real quick, the other thing about it was my favorite meme about the Fast series, and it popped up again. It's the picture of the first movie and then the one where they put the car in space.
Yeah.
And it's the caption is something along the lines of, would anybody believe if they saw this 10 years ago that these two pictures were from the same film franchise?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the one thing I love people going back to is the fact that, what were they doing in Fast and Furious? They were knocking over tractor trailers of DVD, or VCR TV combos. And now they're going to space and doing Corona James Bond style stuff.
They couldn't save a guy off the front of a semi in the first one.
Yeah. Oh, God, I forgot about that.
That dude was
I think my mind would melt if I went back and watched all those movies.
Can you imagine the rewatch on that real quick?
Like I said, I think my mind would explode going back to the original. I might just do it for the fun of it, like go back to the original and just work through.
Actually, you know what might be kind of interesting, and it might be kind of I don't know if it would be an interesting paper. It sounds like something somebody would write in college. But at what point did the Fast and Furious universe split from real life into complete and utter fantasy?
I want to say Fast Five. Fast Five was the beginning because when you had that safe chase, that was it. And then 6 went into, spy stuff, and then 7 went further into the spy stuff. Like that began that whole era.
But I'm just saying, it'd be kind of cool to see that timeline, like someone actually plan out that timeline type thing, do some of the stuff with like the Pixar universe, how it's connected.
Oh, Pixar's allegedly connected.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, like where did it all jump the shark, so to speak?
It'd be awesome. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me right now. Any other big news stories we need to talk about before we do some time traveling?
Not that I can particularly think of.
Al Pacino going to have another kid? Do we care about
that? That's just interesting because it was not too long ago that Robert De Niro said he had another kid. So now it's kind of like, are these kids going to be destined to do like a Heat remake in like 20 years?
No. I have an idea for a movie.
Uh-oh.
Al Pacino and Robert De Niro doing like a buddy dad film, being dads for the first time in their 80s.
I actually want that. I think we need to discuss that. I think we need to outline that because I like that. And quite frankly, the first thing oh God, when the news came up, I just looked over at my wife and I was like, hoo-ah, 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 now, hoo-ah.
Oh, it's awesome.
I don't know, man. That's just, I'm nuts like that.
Man, I'm just nuts like that.
I'm crazy.
I'm crazy, man. I'm just crazy.
I'm very unhinged over here, and I'm very sensitive.
Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in a buddy dad movie at 80.
I'd watch it. I would watch it.
Or
you just call it Daddy.
One of them has to be a dad already, and the other one never had kids.
Oh, yeah, that is a good one because then, like, you get the relationship with I think we need to outline this. We're going to outline
it. And there needs to be, like, when did they change math?
Oh, that, when your joke lands in an Incredibles movie, it has to be, it's a good one.
I love that line from Incredibles 2.
When did math change?
But you know what? As a parent, you run into that stuff sometimes. Like something comes across and it's like, what the is this?
Oh yeah, just because the way things are taught is changed so frequently. It's like, what the hell am I supposed to do? And my kid asks me this, and I learned this.
Oh, I have a funny story about that. I'll tell you off air. All
right.
Wow,
noted.
Perfect. All right. We're going to do some time traveling. We'll be back with the review of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse here in 3, 2, 1, sound effect. We hit a lump in the timeline, and it hurt.
Ow.
And upon landing in the future, our time travel has completed. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com is on the line with me. You have seen Spider-Man. We will get to that in a second, but we want to pound out a couple other little news things that happened since we last recorded. One, I just want to bring it up. Not really crazy news or anything, but if you missed out on Star Trek Strange New Worlds and you're not a Paramount Plus subscriber, the entire first season is now on YouTube.
Wow.
I saw that this morning, and you were legitimately the first person I thought of.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, I did renew my subscription, but that's a really good way. That's just like what they do with Pluto. What they like to do with Pluto is they'll throw seasons or even just episodes on there, and it's a good way to entice people for free to come over to Paramount Plus because it's like, hey, we've got this quality programming over here. It'd be a shame if no one watched it. He listed it for tax purposes.
Well, the other thing about it is you've got the new season coming out here on June 15th, I believe.
Exactly.
So it's great promotion. I mean, you've gotten everything you're going to get out of Strange New Worlds that first season, and you want people to you want to grow it, so this is a good way to do it. So if you're into the world of Star Trek, you haven't seen Strange New Worlds, which, listen, it's not perfect, but it's really good. I really enjoyed the season for the most part. It goes back to kind of that episodic feel and more on board a starship type stuff that an older Star Trek fan might be more used to, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, especially just because it has the look and the feel of like classic original series recipe.
So good stuff. Strange New Worlds entire season 1 on Paramount now. Mike, you were bringing up a story about it's Oppenheimer, right?
Yes, Oppenheimer.
Tell us about Tom Cruise versus a nuclear warhead.
Well, you see, when Tom stares directly at the warhead's nose cone. So what's actually happening here is apparently we've got Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 coming out this summer. That's the part that we know about.
Yeah.
And apparently it's only going to be in IMAX for 1 week. Or for a more limited run than Tom Cruise would like, because of the fact that Universal's Oppenheimer is opening on July 21st, and it's locked in for 3 weeks.
Okay. So
and what's really crazy about this is the fact that during the pandemic, when theaters were during the beginning of the pandemic, when things were starting to open up again, he did that whole video where he and Christopher McQuarrie went and saw Tenet at an IMAX, and he's like, "Oh yeah, this is cinema. This is great. Go to the movies."
Yeah.
And now the man that he has championed has become his supposed foe.
It's funny how quick that stuff could change, right?
Oh yeah, and this is Tom Cruise we're talking about here. He delayed Top Gun Maverick for so long because he wanted it to be front and center in theaters, printing money, and it worked.
Yeah,
it certainly worked. But now something's standing in his way from doing it again, at least in IMAX. And it's just really odd and interesting that it happens to be Christopher Nolan and Oppenheimer.
We were talking off air before we started recording about, I feel like Tom Cruise and Christopher Nolan should have like 3 movies together by now, right?
I would be very interested to see what a movie between the two would look like, especially because Christopher Nolan he loves his 80s movie stars.
Yeah.
He's brought in, Matthew Modine and Tom Berenger and Rutger Hauer and even Kenneth Branagh to a certain extent as an 80s movie star, even though he sort of spanned decades. But still, he's always had those people that he brings in that sort of shows wow, you must have been a really big fan back in the day.
Yeah. I don't know. It just seems...
working with Tom Cruise, that's kind of like Everest.
I'm not saying it should be like a Tim Burton, Johnny Depp type thing, but I feel like these are 2 guys that should have worked together on something by now.
Oh yeah. I mean, if Tom Cruise wasn't so busy with, and this is where I think the reasons come in that they haven't worked together. Tom Cruise is basically his own man at this point, and he still can command any slot that he wants. And I think the thing is, maybe he prefers directors that have a little more give and sort of play more into his hands and what he wants to do with his vision.
Yeah.
And I don't think Christopher Nolan's that type of director. I think Nolan has his vision. Cruise would have his vision. You'd probably have some of the most interesting on-set stories in the worst case scenario.
Yeah, I can see that. That reminds me of earlier this week I was watching, funny enough, another TikTok, and it was, I want to say it was Tom Arnold talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger. And this kind of goes into that director big star relationship, and basically it was feeding into the video itself was feeding into an example of why The Rock, some of his movies are the way they are. Anyways, the story is on the set of True Lies, Arnold Schwarzenegger showed up late. James Cameron really read him the riot act, screamed at him, yelled at him, all this. And this was when Arnold was at probably his peak, right?
Yeah.
Tom Arnold, went up to him afterwards and he said something like, "Why'd you let him do that?" And he goes, "Because he's right." And that's where, where you get into a thing of how that relationship works. And in this case, the big star, I don't want to say bowed to the director, but he said the director was right. How often would you see, someone like Tom Cruise say the director was right, or Dwayne Johnson say the director was right, and would have that power to kind of push them where he wanted them to go instead of where they wanted to go? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that actually does kind of tie into something that we could mention for this week, because in between our recording sessions it was announced that The Rock is now getting his own Fast and Furious
Of course he is.
spin-off. It's not Hobbs and Shaw 2. From what I'm reading in initial reports, it's actually a movie that bridges Fast X and whatever the next movie is going to be called, because of the fact that, again, spoilers, he returns in the end as Luke Hobbs and is now back in the Fast universe. And it's funny, I was writing something, I was writing like a feature a couple weeks ago about the ending the Fast X. And then I initially had written in the draft, Johnson's probably, he probably negotiated some sort of extra movie or he probably negotiated something juicy to come back to the table, because he's not just going to come back for this. He's not going to come back for peanuts.
Yeah.
I don't care what Black Adam did. He's not coming back for peanuts. And if they wanted him that bad, they were going to give it to him. And I called it.
Way to go, Mike. Good job out of you.
Yeah, that's what this show does for us, man. It gives me the power to call things.
Real quick, and going back to the Arnold story, if I got details of that wrong, it's been a couple days since I've seen the video, and you know how TikTok sticks in your brain. But that was the basis of the story. If I got some details wrong in there, I apologize. And if I took kind of a roundabout way of getting there, I apologize, because looking back on that storytelling, it's like, could have done better with that.
Oh, right. Tom Arnold will forgive you.
I want to interview Tom Arnold so bad.
He seems like he would be an interesting guy to talk to.
He's from Iowa, and he's a huge Iowa Hawkeye fan.
Oh, well, there's your in.
As am I.
There's your in right there. It's like, dude, I will buy you a bucket of beers, and we can just sit back and talk about Buckeyes and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
He has a couple of my favorite lines in True Lies. God, I wanted there to be a True Lies 2. I really wanted that.
I think they were looking at it for a little while, and then eventually it got to the point where James Cameron's like, guys, I think 9/11 kind of took the wind out of our sails.
I love the line with Tom Arnold at the beginning of the movie. They're driving and he's sliding around, and someone says something. He goes, "It's called ice, and it gets a little slick." And then when he's talking about his ex-wife, she even took the ice cube trays out of the freezer. What kind of a sick takes the ice cube trays out of the freezer?
You're staying in the track next time.
Oh, God. Yes. They call him the sand spider. Why? Probably because it sounds scary.
Although I'm always kind of sad when I talk about that movie, because then I just get to thinking about Bill Paxton.
Yeah.
And how top notch that man was.
Oh, God, it was so good. That may be one of the best Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
That's a tall order.
I mean,
one of them, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the best, but god dang, it's up there, man.
I would actually like to go back and start his filmography from the beginning again.
Commando is so cool just on its own, just for what it is. Predator.
That's what nailed in the one-liners for him.
Predator was, you know what it was. Kindergarten Cop was the fun take on Arnold.
Yeah, like he's really just sort of bobbed and weaved into so many different types of movie and just done it. It may not always work, but he's always been so shrewd about it.
Yes. So, anywho.
He doesn't try to hammer it in the ground. Like, he didn't try to make 50 million Juniors after Junior didn't work.
Forgot about Junior. That's a really good one, too. Twins.
Most people forget about Junior.
God, Twins was amazing.
Like, that's something that that's something that I'll always give Arnold Schwarzenegger, is the fact that the man is just so curious that he'll try different things, and if it doesn't work, he's not going to try to overstay his welcome.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me right now. All right, let's get to the important stuff of the week. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse premiered. It is out now, and it is good, bad, and different. What'd you think?
It's amazing.
Is it? Wow.
Yes. It is absolutely without. Oh yeah, well, we'll just leave it there. It's amazing. We're just, what more do I have to say except for the fact that this is one of the best animated movies, one of the best sequels, and probably one of the best. No, not probably. It is one of the best films of the year.
Really?
This is yes. This is an early contender for top 5, maybe even top 2 status. And this same thing happened to me last year when I saw Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like around this time of year, that was out, and I was like, that is going to be my top movie. It's so few are going to be able to beat it. This is not just, again, just like Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse is something that truly tells a story, is just a true movie. Like, it is told through, it is one of the best cases for animation as a medium rather than a genre. That is something that people keep saying, and it's something that is absolutely true. And even the most cynical of people would be convinced after watching this, because just like Into the Spider-Verse, it's a tool. It is the tool it is the medium that the story is playing out in, but the story is so good and so well developed. And it's one of those sequels where instead of just, oh, we're just doing the same thing again, the core concept of Into the Spider-Verse was anyone can wear the mask.
Yeah.
Across the Spider-Verse starts questioning that and starts questioning everything about Spider-Man through Miles Morales going into these different dimensions. And this is half of a story because of the fact that it is a 2-part movie. So we've got Across the Spider-Verse right now, and then Beyond the Spider-Verse is next March. That is, I am so excited for that next film because of how well this story is told, because of what this story does, because of how beautiful this movie is visually. And it makes me so excited about comic book movies and multiverse movies again, because this movie really uses the multiverse to its best advantage and doesn't just fall off. There are things that are included in this movie that feel like just, oh, cute Easter eggs, or they're setting up stuff with Marvel, but it works.
Okay.
This movie is not just it's not just another comic book movie. It's not like, hey, this was on the schedule for 5 years and it's been made and it's being released at the exact moment it's supposed to be out.
Yeah.
It's like, no, after Into the Spider-Verse, they had another idea. They developed it with love and care. And they're telling even more stories in this so familiar universe that just, it's so refreshing and engrossing. And yeah, I love this movie. It's not even just a movie, it's an event. I love this so much.
Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com on the line with me right now. A couple quick things about this. One is a question, one is kind of a statement. You brought up something interesting at the beginning about it being animated. Will, at the end, when it's all said and done, you know, when the award shows and all that comes around, will it get the credit it deserves with the fact that it is animated?
It'll definitely be nominated for Best Animated Film and might be a runaway contender right now for winning. But if you're asking if it's going to get a Best Picture nod, I don't know, because unless you've got some sort of socially responsible hook to sort of get behind, comic book movies don't get it. Like Black Panther got in there probably because voters wanted diversity.
Yeah.
And also it was like people were, and I'm not saying Black Panther wasn't a good movie. The Black Panther is one of the best Marvel
no,
movies
I get it.
Still. But I think the reason that got the Best Picture is because it got sort of the blockbuster / public acclaim vote. And I would love to see this get a Best Picture nod, but definitely it'll get a Best Animated nod.
Well, I meant more just not even just the awards, but will it get the credit it deserves, even though it's animated? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I think so.
Okay.
Into the Spider-Verse has gotten pretty solid credibility to it. Like, I would like to think so.
Okay.
Because it's not really doing anything that, it's just continuating Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
It's not really it does new things, and it goes into some kind of dark territory, but it's not like they're trying to do a gritty reinvention, but at the same time, it's not like they're trying to just do what they did before. It's a natural evolution.
My statement about this, and it plays into this, it also plays into the video games that have come out recently, the Spider-Man Miles Morales, and now the Spider-Man 2. Marvel finally figured out how to work Miles into this universe, where when they first announced it, I think people felt like you're replacing Spider-Man. And I don't think people gravitated to him as as part of the story or an extension of the story. Between Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, the video games, I think they finally figured out how to use Miles as a really, really good character.
No, I would agree, especially because again, you go back to Into the Spider-Verse, and it's so easy to just look at the different variants, and it's like, oh yeah, they were just doing that to have fun, and they were just doing really crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But even with Into the Spider-Verse, like on top of Miles, all the other Spider family, like Spider-Gwen and Spider-Man Noir and Peter Porker, like they gave them more of a purpose by just using them as extensions for, like, look, in every universe there is this hero that represents this. It's just the form changes, but anyone can wear that mask. And I think that's the key that makes Miles and anyone else work. Is it's not just we're creating this variance because money or because, let's just throw spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
It's because anyone can wear that mask, and telling that story through these different constructs is what makes it so exciting.
Very cool stuff. Mike Reyes from Cinemablend.com talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I think we summed it up pretty good there. I'm glad you had a good time, and I can't wait to see this movie.
Oh, there are things in here that I can't wait for us to talk about. And I will give this small morsels here because you mentioned the Spider-Man game. Yuri Lowenthal's Peter Parker is officially Insomniac Spider-Man in Across the Universe.
Oh, cool.
So he's in there. And Miles' roommate is playing Spider-Man 2 when you see him.
Okay.
He's playing, like, if you look on the monitor really closely, you see that it's like, I think it may even be some of the footage that they recently released.
Oh, cool.
Which looks tremendous.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that.
No, yeah. I was talking to a dude from comicbook.com yesterday. His name's Kate Onder. We're both big Spider-Man fans, and we were talking about the footage and what you're going to be able to do with that game, and it should be just incredible. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. All right, Mike, we'll leave it there for this week. You have yourself a great weekend, and Mike Reyes from cinemablend.com, everybody.
Go see the Spider-Verse, folks. Do it for Tom Cruise.